Hey moms, and welcome back to Mama's Me. In today's video, we're continuing our breastfeeding awareness series, and today we get to talk to a lactation consultant. Yes, today we are sitting down with International Board Certified Lactation Consultant Heather Markovich, and she is from Lactation Consultants of Atlanta. Thank you for being with us today, Heather. And could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a mom of 3 boys. I reside south of Atlanta, and I've been supporting families through their breastfeeding journeys for about 6 years now.
That is awesome.
Boys.
Boys. Angel's a big fan of that. That's like her. That's mom goals for her.
Everybody says, boys are easier later. They're really hard as little things.
In the beginning?
Yes.
So you could attest to that they're easier.
I can.
Oh, good. Good.
The wild
girls are the opposite. Okay. Well, thank you again for being with us. We are really, really excited to talk to you today. And I'm going to just start out with, what are you most passionate about when it comes to moms, helping moms with breastfeeding?
I really like to help moms unlock sort of their biological cues. And if we can kind of teach them from early on that being with their baby, like throughout the day and night, meeting baby's needs, no matter what time of day it is, keeping baby at the breast for a lot more hours than you might be planning on. That's really important for baby to get enough volume of milk throughout the day and for you to establish a good supply so that you can, feed for as long as your breastfeeding journey permits.
All right. And that seems like a lot of work. I think that's something like that when we started, I don't think that we realized how much work that was going to be. Oh no, I knew immediately that I was in over my head. Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't quite expecting it at the beginning. Oh no, I wasn't expecting it. It just hit me really soon. I was like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah. Day 1, right?
Yeah. It's especially because I was trying to be I was just trying to get him to do it enough or what I thought at the time was enough that It felt like it was all the time, which I'm now learning isn't really as much as it should have been. So that's interesting to think. And can you tell us a little bit about that? What does it take to do that in the beginning?
It seems like we have this magical number kind of programmed into us of every 3 hours. And if you break that down over 24 hours, baby's only eating 8 times a day. And that's just not enough for baby to sustain, healthy nutrition, or for mom to get, kicked off to a good start for her production. So I think that we just need to kind of realize that a lot of what society puts on us in terms of baby sleeping through the night at these early ages, or swaddle them up and shush them to sleep and put them in a rock and play, and they don't stay in a thing asleep very long.
Right.
So we just have a lot of misconceptions about, it's kind of counterintuitive what we're fed from society. Instead of kind of honing in, babies are really good at telling us what they want. They want to eat, we're going to feed them. They want to sleep, we're going to help them sleep. And it's kind of like this whole, it hasn't been 3 hours yet. Well, if you're hungry, you get up and you get a snack. You don't have your partner telling you you can't have your apple yet. So I don't see why we would ever teach a mom to kind of hold off on breastfeeding for this magical schedule that is really going to inhibit lactation. It's not going to support healthy lactation.
Do you think, so does that mean that so for example, when I first started with Oliver, he was actually sleeping longer than what I assumed he was going to. So there were definitely a lot of times where he would sleep. He still sleeps a lot, but he would sleep like 4 hours. So I kind of went back and forth with my pediatrician about, am I supposed to wake him, like, to feed him, to make sure that he's like, so what do you advise when people ask you those types of questions? Because I mean, for him, like, it was nothing for him to sleep 4 or 5 hours fresh out of the hospital. Like,
Right.
It was so easy for him. And I never knew where that balance was of, do I wake him? Do I wait for him to wake up and tell me?
For the first 2 weeks, I think it is really important to make sure we're getting enough calories in. We
Sure.
kind of have that drop in weight when they first are born, and then we need to get them back up to birth weight pretty much by 2 weeks is kind of the average goal. So for those 2 weeks, you just have to kind of like accept that sleep is not
A thing.
really going to be, very plentiful in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I usually go by the rule of, if baby is sleeping this long, of course, we don't want to force them into sleeping this long. But if they are naturally going 4 hours, it's safe enough to do 1 4-hour stretch in 24 hours.
Okay.
I kind of like to tell moms, though, like, don't do that stretch in the early dawn hours, because we have a lot of production during those hours just biologically. We make more milk then. So going 4 hours then could wake you up with some serious engorgement. Better off to do it from like 8 p.m. to midnight, where you're not really risking your production so much. Yeah. And then as long as you're getting back to that 2-hour cycle for the rest of the day, you're going to meet, your 10 to 12 feedings a day. But then as long as by 2 weeks we're pooping enough, that's like a indicator for calorie intake. Do we have adequate output, right?
Sure.
We're pooping enough and we're back to birth weight, they can kind of take the lead.
Okay.
We still cannot sleep for 6 hours. Mom can't sleep for 6 hours. So you wake up, baby's sleeping. Do you set an alarm to pump and leave the kid sleeping? Like what? I would just we call it dream feeding. You just kind of grab the baby and nurse them, and they'll kind of slumber back off. But by 6 weeks, you really can kind of like let go of the rules about that. We're kind of over the newborn hurdles. We know if we're going to be gaining well by then, and your supply is, pretty well calibrated. You have to just really be careful, because that engorgement is a fine line. You can feel great and then reach across the counter and like, ooh, that, So sometimes the sleep is great, but it's not worth it if you're going to sacrifice your breast health, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I remember, so we were in the hospital 4 days post C-section. And so the day we came home, Aria slept for 5 hours, but my milk came in the hospital.
Right.
So I was pumping in the hospital.
And 4 days is a good average for a first-time mom for milk onset.
Well, I remember going to the bathroom, and when I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, my boobs were gigantic, and I touched them and they went, psst, and I was like,
oh, it's
I went into the hallway and I was like, Mike, my boobs are huge.
And they're like,
I gotta eat.
Sit under your chin, right?
I mean, honestly, they probably were like right here, and like they were hard. I got her up. She ate. She probably
ate,
like
right.
around. But yes.
Yeah, mine was mine came in after I was able to get colostrum out in the hospital, but when I came home, like it was a couple of days, and it was the first time that I got to take a shower without supervision, like standing up on my own and doing really well. And I literally took my loofah with my hand and went under and was like, whoa. And I was like, yeah, I think it's here now.
It's crazy.
It's weird. It is one of many weird moments of early momhood.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other things that you like to tell moms or advice that you have about like that time in breastfeeding journey? Like that's really interesting about, like you said, like the dawn hours. Like I assume you mean like between midnight and 6 a.m.
I didn't actually know that.
Is that what you mean?
More like I would not quite midnight. more like the very early AM, maybe like 3.
Okay.
And then through to maybe like mid-morning.
Okay.
And then a lot of times we see this pattern. I will say the disclaimer, I don't like the term witching hour, but it's all over the mommy world.
Sure.
Same time of day, we seem to have this cluster feeding. We have these colicky babies. And I could, in my observations, attribute it to a lower volume available. So they want to eat every hour and a half because there's not copious milk. They can nurse for 15 minutes at 9 a.m. and get a nice full belly and be good for a while. But at 6 p.m., the volume isn't there, which is, I don't know why our bodies are made that way, but
yeah, they are. Interesting.
So then they cluster feed. Mom, again, is now doubting her supply. Something's wrong. I have to top them off before bedtime. Like how often do we hear that, right?
Yeah.
And I am convinced it all has to do with that late in the day dip in production.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
It does. So I feel like I noticed that. And so I would do the mother's milk tea at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, because it worked very quickly for me.
That's good.
Right.
I noticed something like within an hour. Like, I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's how my body did it. Like, it was like, oh, there's something
different. And even if it's just the placebo, if it works for you, run it, right?
Sure. Yeah. So I definitely did that at nighttime. That was my nighttime routine for quite a while.
I think one more like really important tip for those early days is if you're struggling with latch or pain or any of those things, is remove the milk and get it in your baby. And then when you can get support in the coming days or even weeks, like don't wait too long, right? But hand express and put it in a spoon and get it in their throat, right?
Yeah.
This is the goal. Remove the milk to calibrate supply and feed your baby.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the right support and the right help in the coming days, we can usually work through the problems. But if you stop removing and baby stops receiving, then we end up with this cycle that's really hard to come back from.
Yeah. I definitely had experience with that because Aria's tongue tie was so severe that I had a hard time with the nursing during the day because she was gumming.
Yeah.
Like she latched with her gums.
Mm-hmm.
She got plenty of milk, but like during the daytime, I was too awake for that. So we did some bottles during the daytime, but I pumped. She got the milk still, and then at nighttime, I guess I was sleepy enough it didn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
And then got it fixed, and it was fine.
How old was she?
Like 22 or 24 days.
Oh, good. Usually the earlier the better. Once in a while, we see some babies that are just kind of like not maybe neurologically ready or kind of like dysregulated because the tongue tie can really, really mess up their whole system. It's not just a mouth thing. We see this oral tether restriction, and then we end up with compensation, and their bodies are so tiny.
Yeah.
Babies that just scream. You hear these moms, they just scream 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Or if they really are struggling to feed already, we don't want to go in there and do a procedure that's going to create, an oral wound, and then try to feed, like have them feed. It's kind of like, again, counterintuitive. We have to get baby to a place where they can even like sustain a procedure like that. So I think it's a while ago, even for myself, it was like, get them in as soon as you can. If you think you have a tongue tie thing, get it evaluated and get it revised. But I think we're learning that there's like, there's timing.
There's timing
with that too. You have to really be and getting support. Like you wouldn't know as a first time mom what that would look like, right?
Right. And I think we got lucky because I was telling you, the pediatrician in the hospital diagnosed it on like day 2. Perfect. And then my pediatrician is actually a certified lactation consultant as well. I don't know if you know Dr. Kute in Alpharetta.
Good to know, but no.
It's okay. She's awesome. She's old school, very holistic in a lot of her approaches. And we went in on day 5 was the first day we saw her in the office. And she looked at her. She's like, yeah, that one's pretty severe. I would go ahead and called Dr. Bauer, but she worked with us. We saw her a lot, and she helped me with different latches that would not be as painful, possibly. And I think she was very instrumental, and the lactation in the hospital too. But I think she was very instrumental in getting that cycle going, even though there was the tongue tie, and then we were able to get it revised.
I should give a disclaimer. As an IBCLC, we cannot diagnose anything. I could make an observation based on my assessment of baby's oral function, and then make a recommendation for you to find an ENT or a pediatric dentist that can give further oral eval, and then you make a decision based on that provider's recommendation.
That is good to know. Well, so we're talking about things we can do to be successful, but what about when we're not successful? So there's definitely those cases where it doesn't work out for one reason or another. Like, how do you support those moms that breastfeeding does not work out for them?
Right. It's just really important for peers, professionals, providers, for whatever the reason, it doesn't really matter. If mom has tried her best, has sought support, and feels like stopping is what's going to preserve my sanity or my baby's, relationship with me, because I can't do mothering well if I'm, kind of in the cycle of this. I mean, it can be pretty traumatic with this feeding stuff, right? So if that has really begun to kind of consume, then it's okay, right? And finding a good supporter, lactation specialist, consultant, peer support, even a pediatrician that will help you feed your baby how you want to feed your baby. And if breastfeeding isn't working for you, having someone shame you into just keep trying, like quality of life needs to be kind of like preserved at some point. So it's okay to grieve the loss. It is a loss. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel, temporarily, that I didn't meet my goals, but instead of the I gave up theory, or we tell ourselves those kind of things, you would never tell your friend, why'd you give up? So don't tell yourself that. Don't tell yourself, if I had just tried one more day, all of those, just tell yourself, I tried my best. I've got support, and I no longer want to compromise my mental health or the integrity of my family. So you get support for the transition. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. For as long as you make the milk, nurse your baby, and then we bottle feed to, ensure proper calorie consumption. You feed during the day and bottle feed at night. It doesn't have to be, each day can bring a new, new trials and new successes, and it's okay. It's just important, I think, for supporters, whether you're your friends or professionals or your doctors or whoever it is, to, just let moms feel, but then encourage them that, it's kind of like, great parenting isn't just about whether or not you breastfed your baby.
Right.
I can't argue, I don't think anybody can in 2020, that breast milk is a superior infant food, right? We're way past that scientifically, but it's not the only infant food.
Right. Sure.
And there certainly is a place and time for formula. And it's not my job to tell you how to feed your baby. It's my job to help you feed your baby however you want to.
Right. And I think that's something that is important for moms to hear, because you do get that. There's definitely that guilt. It's awesome to have a group that's very supportive, but then, and we were talking before this, and we're very fortunate to be where we are in the city that we are, because there is a lot of support. You just have to know who to reach out to and where it is. But there is a lot of support and a really good community as long as you find it.
Well, and I think talking about normalizing these parts of motherhood and normalizing the concept of breastfeeding and being successful at it and trying, I think like the other thing is being able to accept that it's okay to reach out for that help too.
Right.
Because I mean, I definitely think like when I struggled with it, I reached out to people that I knew were being successful.
Right.
What did you do? What do you think I should do? Especially because, you know, Dawn, especially like when I was out for 6 weeks from work, Dawn was around during so much of my feedings. Like so her seeing what I'm doing, like, what do you think I should do? What are these things? And then through her research and your experience and her experience, and I think that like one of the reasons I know one of the reasons I even was able to push myself to go as long as I did was because of the support that I got. And even if you're only comfortable reaching out to people around you and you know that those people are positive people that aren't going to just tell you to give up just because, you know, like that's got to be helpful. But I know a lot of moms talk about how they just felt like they couldn't or they shouldn't because this is supposed to be natural and easy and it should just work because your body should just do it. And so when it doesn't, you kind of feel like the black sheep and you don't want to talk to any of the other sheep. I don't know.
Well, you know what else is natural for humans to walk, right?
Yeah.
But a baby doesn't just stand up and walk.
Right.
They stumble and they fall and they try again. And we don't just say like, oh, guess you're never going to walk.
Sure.
Because they fell a few times, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But they have us there like picking them back up. And we need that too. Like the baby is new at this, but so is the mom.
Sure.
And yeah, it's natural, but it doesn't mean it's easy, right? And when, again, our society is, a lot of it, I just think is social media. We can accept that people are very cruel where they wouldn't be face to face. Who wants to reach out when they're risking being shamed? Nobody wants to reach out for support when they could really easily be attacked by, you know, my way is better kind of approach. Sure. You know, so we just don't reach out. But who succeeds, right, is people who reach out because you can say that's normal or that's not normal. Let's get you some professional help, or let's get you, let's figure, and the why, right? It's not just, oh, your nipples are hurting, I'm sorry. Like, just give them a walk. It's really important to dig into the why. We can't just band-aid the problem with a nipple shield or with a bottle or with the, just pump and bottle feed. Those are fine options for certain scenarios, but we can't just keep putting a band-aid on it and expecting mom to have success.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense. And I think those are important things for moms to hear, like to know, there are other options. Like, you don't have to feel alone, for one, and you don't have to feel like there's, no other options.
Yeah. Don't to put yourself in this deep set depression.
Right. So when you do have the moms that they can't continue or they choose not to continue because that's what's better for their family, like, what are ways that they can still stay close to their babies that you recommend? Because I mean, like, breastfeeding, that's like it's such a close thing, and they say skin to skin for dads, which I can say, like, my husband did skin to skin with Aria for like definitely the first year. They would cuddle, they would like sit on the couch, and
Rick did too. Yeah. He did it more when we were in the hospital, but he definitely did it off and on, after we had been home.
But what are some ways that you recommend for moms to still feel that closeness and bond? Because I've definitely heard of people feeling like they just don't feel like they're bonding with their baby anymore because they're not breastfeeding anymore.
I think it's really important for us to really cue into babies when they're first born. They have to be close to us, because they don't have great vision. But you bring a baby into your face and you start talking to them and facial expressions and opening your mouth, and they'll start to copy you and mimic you. They'll copy noises. So we can, just kind of hop around and sing around, and they will copy you. They will be in, this little rhythm, whatever it is that you're doing. Infant massage is really good. YouTube is full of infant massage stuff. It's not even like a after bath, like anytime, you know, you just want to connect with your baby. I mean, who doesn't like a rub, right? Feels good.
Yeah.
Baby wearing isn't just an out and about thing. I mean, you can get a lot done if you just put that kid on your back if they're older, but get that little wrap and snug them up good and keep them right here, you know, and they're feeling your heartbeat. They're hearing the rhythm of your voice. They're feeling your breath, you know, and you're right there to tend to their needs. Sometimes a wailing baby can just be kind of snugged up in that wrap and they can just calm right down. Another thing that the AAP recommends now is a shared sleeping space. They recommend it for up to 6 months, but would prefer a year even. We find that babies actually sleep better, and I don't mean longer, right?
Right,
with
just better quality.
Right, their quality of sleep. There's been some sleep studies with moms and babies. Babies that are close to their moms while they're sleeping, mom and baby have temperature changes together, their breath and their sleeping patterns sync together. So babies are programmed to wake for their own protection, right? Their neurological senses and stuff, they're not really keyed in for these 8 hours.
No.
So having mom and dad close by, parents close by, really keeps them connected. You can tend to their nighttime needs. You can feed them easily and get them, you know, without having to go down the hall, into the room, sit in the rocker, swaddle them back up, put the white noise back on, go back to your bed. Now you have to pee. There's like a lot. Just keeping them close at night kind of gets everybody more.
That was so much easier for me in the beginning when I was breastfeeding, because I didn't even have to really like, I just did like this, and then he was right there. And then like if he had like I guess what was not his normal at the time, but like if he would have like fussier times, he was right there. Like it was just so much easier, you know, and I've already done my spiel in previous videos about how I used to feel about co-sleeping, but God, like I miss it so much. And now because he's so used to his crib, he won't sleep with me and I hate it.
Right. Yeah. Come back to me, baby.
Yeah.
Right? I was never going to share sleeping space with my children either. And with one of my babies, who's probably like 2 or 3 weeks old, and I was breaking all the rules, so don't do any of this. I had a rocker thing in a pack and play next to my bed because I wanted him close, but I wasn't supposed to bring him in the bed, you know, because that's not allowed either.
Yeah.
I woke up one night, don't know how long I had been draped over his little thing that he wasn't supposed to be in. And I guess I had begun looking for, I don't know what, on the floor, I don't know, but I woke up and I had a flashlight that I had been looking for something, but it was shining right in his face. Oh. And I was like draped over the side of the pack and play for who knows how long. And it just was like, what am I doing? Like,
right.
Let's connect because this is not working.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, so we had the Moses basket right next to the bed. And so she was like right next to me. I just had to stand up to lean over to get her. And then the first 2 weeks when I was healing from my incisions, my husband was on that side. So he would stand up, pick her up, bring her to me.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, still being that close was fantastic.
And whether you're bottle feeding or breastfeeding, right?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
I mean, I guess you have to go make a bottle, but send partner, right? Like
send partner.
And then
you're cuddle time in while somebody else makes the bottle.
Right. That whole like down the hallway business with a rocking chair that's a lot of lost sleep, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yes. It definitely is.
Hey moms, thanks for joining us for part 1 of our conversation with Heather. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon. That way when part 2 and other great content comes out, you'll be notified right away. Follow us on social media at MamaSleeMe on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We'll see you next time, moms.